This is episode 16 with serial author, speaker, and CEO of New Direction Coaching Associates, Early Jackson. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of the UV Effect. Today we have another fantastic guest for you. His name is Mr. Early Jackson, and he is a bona fide life coach. So really in this interview, I'm excited about it because we really talk about some of the issues that he has seen as a life coach with his clients and how to get through those issues, how to work through those things, because that's what he does. I think one of the biggest focuses on this interview particularly was an element that is incredibly crucial in developing your unique value. In fact, it is the most important, I would say, element of identifying your unique value, and that was the message of self-awareness. Self-awareness is something I think a lot of people struggle with. Either we are praising ourselves too much or pushing ourselves too far down the mud, not giving ourselves enough credit for things, and therefore we're not able to see who we really are, what we're actually capable of on both of those ends of both of those spectrums. So this interview, we talk heavily on the fact or the message of self-awareness, how to develop it, why people have struggled with developing it, all these different things. It's a great message. I think if you are someone that now if you're struggling with self-awareness, you may not know that you're struggling with self-awareness, but try and kind of see if you think that this is something that might work for you. You think this is something that maybe you can work to develop. I think everybody can work to develop self-awareness. I think it's something that everybody just constantly needs to come back to, because it is never a one and done thing. We can easily slip. So that's why I think that this is such a great interview and such a great message, and something we just kind of need a refresher on, to be self-aware, to realize what we can't do, and be able to accept those things, and to then embrace the things that we can do wholeheartedly and put our efforts into that. And I think it'll help us. It'll really help you if you are trying to figure out what you can do for this world, what you can bring, what specific value you can offer to this world. This self-awareness portion, talking about this, will definitely help you. So this interview, we talked about a few other things. So I'm excited for you to jump into it and start hearing it, because it definitely was very good. But yeah, without further ado, let us jump right in, and I hope that you enjoy. Welcome, Mr. Early. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Gabrielle, I am so pleased and excited to be here with you. It's a great honor. I mean, your brand, everything you're doing is just so public right now, and you're just on fire. So it's cool to get some time to chat with you.
Thank you. And I know we've known each other for a little bit. I don't think we've ever actually met. But I do know quite a bit about you, and I'm very excited to get into your story and get into what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm sure my audiences will be very, very inspired by you and motivated by what you're going to share. So, without further ado, let's just jump straight into the questions. And I want to know about you, your profession. You have a company called New Direction Coaching Associates. What is this about?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do here, and why did you start this company?
Sure. Well, my wife and I run New Direction. My wife, Sharice, and I. And we are a one-stop shop for a lot of coaching needs for people. So we coach people from a wide range of situations, everyone from whether you're trying to transition to a better lifestyle with healthier eating, you're going from a business to becoming an entrepreneur, whether you're trying to lose weight, get off drugs, stop smoking, all the way into some small business practices like team building, synergy, culture in the workplace, and time management. And we get this opportunity, this really unique opportunity to see people empowered. And I use the word empowered, not help, simply because for me, help implies a deficiency on the person that's receiving it. But when you say, instead of I'm going to help you, I'm going to empower you, what you're telling someone is you already have everything you need. I'm just going to show you what a light switch is and let you turn it on. And I think that's what drives us and what we do. And that's our big why, to see that light bulb come on when someone flicks the switch and realize, oh, my God, I've always had the power. I just didn't know how to use it.
Yeah, and I actually just saying that really does tie a lot with UV effect. It really ties together because, as you say, we always have that light switch. We just have to be able to switch it on. And the same thing goes with our unique value, the thing that makes us special, what we can offer to the world, and the way that we can offer to the world, the only way that we can. And that's always within us, but sometimes it takes a long time for people to find it and then switch it on. So I do love
Yeah.
the correlation there. So I do want to talk to you more about your coaching and what you do for people there. But before we get into that, I do want to talk about now you personally, because something with the UV effect is we focus on three things. Think about personal, professional, and then other people in the world. So I want to go into personal. I remember I was doing some research on you, seeing your story, how you began, and everything like that. And I remember you saying that you actually went through addiction with multiple different drugs, right? Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to know a couple of things, but I'll start with one question. How long ago was that?
Wow. Okay. So I'm 45 now,
Okay.
and this was in from 16 to about 22
Mm.
was when I struggled with drug addiction, and it was really dark time for me. And I tell people, purpose is so powerful because when you don't know your purpose, you'll act out accordingly. Because I believe puts these parameters around you where things that you would normally do, you say, well, I wouldn't go that far because my purpose can dictate that. So I was purposeless.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
that led, yeah, and that led to me connecting with the wrong crowd, and then that of course led into the drug addiction, and I struggled with it, and I didn't really hit rock bottom until my family kind of turned their back on me and said we have love. And I remember I went to my one time, take kind of chill out for a little bit, and my nephew was around, and it was literally his job to make sure that Uncle Early didn't go in anyone's room and take anything out because my addiction had gotten so that bad.
Wow.
So I tell people, when you find yourself outside of without any purpose or drive or direction in your life, that's a very dangerous place. It's kind of like the old saying, an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Wow, that is really powerful. And I mean, just it's funny how we were just now getting started, and you've already had so many ties to understanding your unique value, why it's so important. Because I mean, just with that, talking about purpose, right, and not knowing their purpose. There's so many people you hear, so many of the stories that horror stories people go through, and a lot of it starts with being lost, not having direction, not knowing where they're going, not knowing what they want to do, who they are, all these different things. And so,
Right.
Purpose and unique value really tie together. And I think one thing, I'll actually ask you, what came first for you? Understanding your purpose or understanding who you are?
Wow. I think they tie in together. They're pretty much they run congruent with each other because who we are is our purpose. Like it's so crazy because our purpose is woven into our DNA. So you can't separate the person from the purpose.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Kobe Bryant doing anything other than playing basketball? Can you imagine Joel Osteen doing anything other than preaching the word?
Right.
Because we find ourselves when we walk into our purpose. And I'm a big believer that there have been these clues life's been leaving you all the time. So for me, it was my communication. I'm not very tall. I don't run very fast. I don't jump very high. So athletics wasn't my thing. I struggled in school, so academics really wasn't my thing, and I was frustrated.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I started getting around people and started doing some trainings, and I realized that's where I came alive. That's where the light bulb popped on, and that's where the juice started flowing. So the more I did it, the more I became the early that I was, called and purposed and destined to be. So I tell people, if you really want to find out who you are, that who is the what purpose.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. That's perfect, really. So I mean, yeah, that really that tied together a lot that goes on in my head when I think about unique value and I think about the struggles that people have, especially being a teenager and being around so many kids my own age where we just kind of do stuff without really thinking, because we don't really
Right.
know. We don't really know what we're doing or what we're going to do. We just think, okay, we're just going to do what I'm doing right now, and then hopefully things will fall into place. And then
Right.
when I hear about how there's no, you said there's no person without the purpose. Correct? Is that what you said?
That's what
Right.
I said. Yeah.
You hear that, and it's like I see that in a lot of in a lot of teens, a lot of kids my age. I look at that and I see how so many kids, they don't really know who they are because they don't really know what they're doing, what they want to do, and what they're trying to go after. And I just that's why this is so important to me. And I love that you use that, that really tied together what goes on in my head. I love that. Go ahead. Yeah.
You said something about the value, that value piece in our lives. That's key. Yeah, I believe that that's what shifts our perspective.
Mm.
Because when you have something, and perfect example, a friend of mine years ago gave me a watch. He said that he really wanted to do something nice for me. It was heavy, it was not, a little bit more stylish than I would normally wear. I'm really kind of, I'm just kind of a laid back guy. And so I wore it. And didn't pay much attention to it. A few weeks later, I had it on, and a guy who was a jeweler was looking at the watch, and he was like, "Wow, you have that watch?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it was a gift from a friend." And he looked at me, he's like, "Your friend really likes you." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "That's about that watch is," and he, told me what it was worth. And I wanted to go home and take it off because I didn't want to walk around with that much on my arm. But I looked at the gift differently, not in the sense I coveted it more, but I was more careful with it simply because I realized, wow, I understand the value of it. And that goes across the board, whether it's relationships, business connections, whatever. You know how invested people are based on how they value you. So yeah, I think that's a really big important part for teenagers, especially.
And then, like on that other side, you saying how as soon as you found out the value of it, you were so much more careful with it,
Yeah.
and that really does correlate with just us as people. We started off not really knowing what our value is, what we can really offer in the world, and that's why we just kind of do whatever, or we'll just go for whatever. We're not as focused. We're not seeing what we have inside, so we're not really taking care of it the way that we should. But then that moment when we realize what we actually have, what value we have, what we can offer to people, and what people will be willing to pay. That's when we take
Right.
more care of this. That's when we start, putting more into ourselves and developing ourselves so that we can grow and become more and worth more and grow and grow. I love that. I really love that. Okay, so I think a crucial part of basically of life, right? And in the moments that we are living in and things that we are doing is that there's a lot of things that will happen. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of bad, and
Right.
it's so easy, right, to look more at the good, to bask in all the great things that happen and all the things that you enjoy, and to owe all of your success to the good things. But what I'm saying, what I say is so crucial is that we also have to look at those negative things that happen to us and see that there is still a huge amount of value in that and how that has actually gotten us to where we are as well. So I want to ask, in that dark period where you were going through drug addiction and trying to get through that, would you say that there is anything that you would owe from that moment to where you've gotten
Oh my,
to?
absolutely. My mentor used to say, "Not 1 ounce of your experiences will be wasted on your destiny."
Mm.
Not literally, not 1 ounce. That means all the good stuff, all the bad stuff, all the stuff that seems mundane and insubstantial. All that actually goes into who you are. So it's vital for you to embrace that. So for me, what that drug addiction taught me was how to respect boundaries. And it not only boundaries, but it taught me about my circle. Because wherever you're going, you're literally the sum total of the 5 people that you're hanging around. So if you want to find out what your future is going to look at the people that you call your friends, that you're connected to, because those values transcend each other. So it helps me understand that there is a limitation to humanity, and that proper boundaries are healthy because it keeps you from destroying yourself. And again, your circle, your vibe attracts your tribe. So you got to have a good tribe going with.
Yeah, I love that. And I think when we kind of look back into the past, right? We look at some of the things we learn. It sometimes seems very indirect, but it actually is
Yeah.
is very direct. Um, And I love with that, like that's something that I learned when I was younger too, that you're the sum total of everything, of the five people that you have around me. I learned that when I was younger and I kept that in my mind. That's why throughout my school year, school career, I only had like a small amount of friends, and I made sure that it was select, right? I did not, look around trying to have all these kinds of friends. I wanted the ones that I could trust and lean on. And I do think that is something that's crucial even when you're an adult, especially when you're an adult as well, because there's so much happening in life and world around you that you do need to have those people that you can just rely on and trust, because you do end up kind of morphing into them. And I actually did a podcast episode a little while ago I called it the chameleon skin, and it was about how we are all natural chameleons, right? And we all kind of switch and turn when we go into different situations and we're around different kinds of people. And it's important that we know who we are in that moment, even if we do have to turn a little bit just to kind of make the deal here, But you have to be able to come back to who we actually are. I want to know, did you struggle a lot with I guess the chameleon skin kind of effect, or do you now? And if so, how do you kind of work to break free of that?
That's a great question, and I want to drop this word. The word friend, we use that so loose nowadays because of social media. Oh, I have, they're my friends on Facebook or whatever. And yeah, in Latin, the word friend literally means another me. So when you look at it from that perspective, can I look at the people that you hang out with and say, that's another Gabrielle? So when I think about it, and I taught my daughters that, especially my daughters, I wanted them to know that when you choose people to be your friends, you're choosing someone to be a representative of who you are. Now, that's not saying we choose people and they're perfect or anything like that, but for the most part, you should be around people that share the same sphere of values that you do. Yeah. So with that said, after coming out of the drug addiction and really, going through tough times, it kind of breaks you from the opinion of people. That's one good thing about kind of going to rock bottom and coming out, is that you realize that you find out what's important and what you can depend on. And when you get to that bottom place, all you have left is yourself. And that's where authenticity comes in. So as you grow, and especially as I got out of my 20s and my values, even formed, to be better, I started realizing that if I'm authentic, it doesn't matter who doesn't connect with me. I will always find my water will always rise to the right level because I'm being early, and quite honestly, my wife is she's the queen of authenticity. She says we can be in a place, and I said, babe, why are you doing that? She was like, because I'm me, and nobody likes that, then they can not be with me, not be around me. Yeah. And she's just incredible with that, and that helps me understand that, wow, no matter what happens, as long as I'm true to early and I'm authentic, I'll be around the right people, because those will be the people that stick around.
Very true. And that's actually really good for a leeway of something else I want to ask. So you have a book called Modern Princess that you wrote a little while ago. How long ago did you write this book?
It's been almost 2 years now since it's been out from our publisher.
And so as you're talking about relationships, you're talking about friendships, you're talking about even your relationship with your wife. I want to know about this book. Why did you write it? Tell us about it first, and then why did you write this book? Why is it important?
This is my favorite story to tell, Gabrielle, because it gives me a chance to just talk about my family and how my children were raised. So the main reason why I wrote The Modern Princess, it sparked out of a conversation with my youngest daughter. And we were just talking about how much Disney I consumed over the years with 3 daughters. And literally, you name a Disney movie, I can sing the theme to you, And we were joking about that. And out of nowhere, she says, you know what, Dad? I would never date a guy like Prince Adam from Beauty and the Beast. And I said, well, wait a minute. He's the prince. He was the Beast, but then he turned into this great looking, prince. She was like, yeah, but anybody that locks you in a room that's yelling at you and you don't feel comfortable having dinner with them, that's abuse, and I don't want that. Light bulbs literally went off, So I'm like, wow, wait a minute. There might be something to this. So I wrote a couple of blogs called The Myths About Fairy Tale Relationships, and they started getting some really great traction and just really getting shared, and I was getting great feedback from it. So I began to talk with my publisher about doing a book of relationships from a man's perspective, but using the theme of a princess and, pulling some of the characters that we've grown up watching and reading. And so that's how The Modern Princess, a 21st Century Guide to Fairy Tale Relationships, got written. And it's in 3 sections. So the first section is about Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Now, Belle is the girl who is always dating the bad boy. She's going to chase the bad boy, and her love is going to make him change into this really great guy. Right. And that's not just reality all the time, you know. A lot of times women date for potential, and potential doesn't cut it because potential is what you could be. But if you don't want it, then you never actualize in potential. So the next person in the book is Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. Now, she's really interesting because she would never have been in a storm if she hadn't have jumped off her bike to chase a dog. I'll let that marinate right there for a little bit. But so she chases this dog into a storm, and she ends up picking up these stragglers, these guys. And Dorothy's the kind of girl that dates men with potential. They're always about to do something great. So he's great looking, but he doesn't have a brain. He doesn't have courage. And she's always been telling herself, I got to get to Oz. I got to follow this road to get to Oz so that I can meet my, wizard. He's going to get me home. And when she finally gets him, she realized she already had the power to go home anytime she wanted to. Right. And then the last person in the book is Snow White. Now, Snow White's a little interesting because she's always dating guys. And think about the character of the seven dwarfs. Those seven dwarfs are actually different characteristics of men. Sleazy, grumpy, sleepy, and so on. And she's always dating guys that she can mother. So here's an example. She'll find this guy on Monday. By Friday, she's going to help him get his credit fixed. You need to stop eating this. You need to buy new drapes for your house. She's going to change the way he dresses because she can mother and control that. But that's not someone that's an equal mate to you. That's someone that you can, kind of play house with. And it's not going to work out. So I wrote, and each section has its own set of study questions. And we would get emails in the office of ladies who were in the middle of doing one of the study questions, tossed the book across the room and just, got mad with themselves about, what they were doing. And then, email and say, you know what, I finished the book. It helped me out tremendously, but you really, upset me along the way. So that's why I wrote the book. And that's the passion I have to make dating safe and understandable for everybody.
Yeah, I mean those three characters really sound very familiar, I think, and I definitely it sounds like something that would relate to a lot of women. So I actually I want to transition a little bit, but I don't want to lose that part. Talking about relationships, but I do want to go back into your consulting. So I want to talk a bit about your business on that side. And the main thing that drew me to the idea, you being a life coach and what you do there was the real idea of you being a life coach, being able to talk to people and help them to, I guess, figure out their life, so to speak, but to guide them and to empower them to get on track and to whatever frame or whatever issues they're trying to work out. And so something that intrigues me a lot when it comes to people, and what I've actually found out on this podcast by doing this podcast, is that with a lot of people, the root of the problem often lies with a lack of self-awareness. And when you as you going back to talking about how you have the book on relationships, I find that that's probably the same thing there too, that a lot of people have a lack of self-awareness, what their issues are, what they need to kind of work out. And so I want to ask, do you go through that when you are consulting, when you are helping people, whether they're in relationships, whether it's business, whether it's whatever? Do you have to work on people with self-awareness, or and how do you help them? How do you help them discover?
Wow. So absolutely. First of all, yes, because at the root of all of our struggle is the inability to discern what's going on with the situation. I call it blind spots, and we all have them. Yeah. I've had to, when we relocated from Philadelphia to Virginia, and I rented a truck that was bigger than any truck I'd ever driven before. I don't know what I was thinking, but it was a massive truck, and every time we parked it, my wife would have to get out and kind of stand over on the left side where I could see her in the mirror and kind of back me in and say, okay, whoa, you got 5 feet left or whatever. Right. And that's how life is. Mm-hmm. All a life coach is that person that's going to get out and look at the stuff that you don't know. Because it's not the stuff that you know that's holding us back. It's the stuff that we don't know that we don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So once someone brings that to your attention, if your heart is in it and you really want to see change, you're going to address it and make the adjustments. If you're not, you're going to make excuses. So a coach brings you face to face with that decision.
Yeah.
Do you want to make it better for your life? Yes. Are you willing to do the work? If it's no, we need to stop wasting each other's time. If it's yes, here are some tools and some steps. And if people go in, I mean, once they get their hands on information and they're hungry for it, oh my God, it's like turning them loose at a buffet. They just go for it, and they're enthusiastic because they want it better. And here are all the tools they needed. And that's exciting. And that's the kind of clients we work with, whether it's in the business arena or in the personal arena. If you're ready to go from change and transition into potential and purpose, we're the company to kind of connect with, and we get in down and dirty and just really, up front and in your face coaching and say, here are the issues that you don't see that's holding you back. What are you going to do about it?
Were you always confident enough to kind of tell people these things and like help them and guide them from the very beginning, or did you have to kind of grow to be confident enough in that?
I'll say I grew into it because information leads to more inspiration. So I think that we actually work with young coaches who are just coming into the industry, because once you get your certification or you go through the classes that you go through, you're excited, you got your business plan kind of nailed out, and you have your brand or your niche, and all these wonderful things that they teach you in these seminars and classes. And then you hit the real world with people with real problems. And that's when you have to rely on your journey, understanding that your journey is valuable. It makes you who you are. And again, I use this term a lot, and if your heart is in it. Yeah. If a coach's heart is in it for real, they're going to take all of their excuses, all of their experiences, their failures, and bundle it up into a life lesson. Imagine if I came back and I told you, I said, hey, Gabrielle, I just found this treasure chest. I mean, this guy, and no claim there, just there. You should go get it. Yeah. Your next question to me will be, where is it? And my failures, not just my successes, but my failures are the roadmap to help people know where there's potential danger. I think that it's amazing to me how many people get out of their situation and turn around and tell people, well, I made it out. You got to, go through your rough times and pay the price. Why would I let you go through? If I had to go bankrupt at 32, why would I want you to do it too? Why not share with you the steps and the mistakes I made so that you can avoid that pitfall and get to your goal faster? Yeah. And I think that's exactly what we're put on earth to do. Kevin Spacey, one of my favorite actors, he said, when you have the fortune, when you have the good fortune to go to the top, you owe it to others to send the elevator back down.
100%. That's 100%. One question I was asking before. One of the issues I think that a lot of people have or face is the issue of not being able to understand themselves and being aware of themselves, their own issues, their problems. And I found on the podcast that is really the root of a lot of people's issues. And I wanted to know, do you face those same problems as well, like with people that you are consulting? And how do you help them to be more aware of themselves?
Well, it starts with motive. You got to want to change it when you find it. Yeah. And so then you go on this expedition of figuring out what are the things that are holding me back? What, those blind spots that I can't see. And once we do that, I mentioned tools earlier. I think tools are vitally important. Another funny story about us moving from Philadelphia down here was I got a chance to do something most married guys never get to do. I got a chance to actually pack up our old house while my wife was away. Oh. With floor, every box he's there. Oh, let me see this. Well, what's there? I think I need this. So I wanted to consolidate. So I started throwing away boxes of stuff. And she'd come home like, wow, you got a lot of work done. And I just kept throwing away boxes. Moved down here, and what we do is we go to a local furniture store and pick up some things that we need. Get it home, they're in boxes. I stand back at the instructions, and she says, what are the tools? Looking around. You guessed it. I threw the tools away. So I realized it's hard to put something together with the, so I think that coaching at its core is just people that tool belt so that they know what their problems are most of the time. See it. They just don't know how to put it together. So the instructions are paramount. And that's what coaching does, especially the kind of coaching that we do.
So one other question. Actually, I have a couple more, but there's one other one that has to do with this that I wanted to talk about, and that is what what kind of issues do you run into with, I wouldn't say issues, but what are the kind of the problems that people have issues with when they come to you for their help, whether it be in business or relationships or what have it? What are some of the main ones that people struggle with that you have to, work
Sure.
with them with?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple on both ends of that spectrum. So on the relationship side of the house, you got people that come to us because they're about so they want some pre-counsel, premarital coaching to really help them get the perspective of what relationships are, especially if they're coming from damaged relationships. Often to do. We've also coached people on the other end of that situation. They've gone through a nasty divorce to try to figure out who am I aside from this relationship and how do I rebuild. We are transition specialists in our work. We work with people in major shifts in their lives. So if you've been sick, typical bill, you've got that burning to start your own company, and what do you do first? Because you've always worked with someone else. We walk them that process. It looks like getting out the door. We work with individuals who are battling depression. We live in a very high military populated area, so we even work with people who have employment anxieties and help them get through those periods where they're separated from their families. On the business side, we work with, we've had contracts with small companies to go out and do things like time management, a lot of conflict resolution. I believe that people are at an all-time hostile right now for some reason, and that kind of coaching is really useful to give people the tools to settle their differences without it escalating. Culture in workplaces and without we've got workplaces that are diverse more than ever now. So that kind of coaching gives the tools to that company to embrace people, not alienate people, not say, here we're colorblind. No, we don't want you to be colorblind. We want you to acknowledge that there's other cultures to embrace. So we work with them in those situations. And so yeah, that's the relationship, that's the business.
Wonderful. Yeah, I wanted to know just because I think with a lot of people they may not know what they how they could help, like how you could help them, and if if there was something that they felt like they needed help with, they wouldn't know if they could come to you or not. And I wanted to kind of get an idea of what you do work with, who you work with, and some of the issues that you do deal with. I thought it was something that was interesting to me. So before we head out, first I want to thank you so much, Mr. Early, for joining me and coming on. And what you shared, I think this is one of the interviews that really kind of jived with me, so to speak, only in the sense because some of the things that you say is some of the things that I kind of think in my mind, and that I see a lot in different people, and I'm just like, oh, if only they knew this, and like if only they knew that, and it just kind of it was like a puzzle piece that kind of fit together really well with my mind and your mind. It was really good. I really enjoyed speaking with you and talking to you. So before we head out, I did want to ask: is there anything else that you wanted to share? Anything new that's coming up that you want to share with our audience?
Well, here locally in Hampton Roads, I'm on the radio. I have a segment that comes on every week on Wednesdays in the morning with their morning crew called Getting Stuck with Early. And it's just a time we literally do like laser coaching over the phone with people live. They call in, I have no idea what their issue is. We just, the DJ answers the phone and, pre-screens them, and we just do it on the air. So that's really a fun thing I'm doing. So if you're here, it's an iHeart radio station. And the information's on my website. So, if anybody wants to listen to that, my wife and I have some engagements that we're going to be going out to speak and just empower some companies. But the thing that I would really like to just share as we kind of wind down is the power of our voice. Especially for the age bracket where you are going into that. It's so exciting, first of all, to work with you. I've worked with you in the Speakers Bureau. So I've had the chance to kind of have a sideline view of you over the last few years. And it's exciting because you found your voice so early. When we're born, everybody in the delivery room is waiting to hear that baby scream because that scream lets them know the baby's okay and they're here. But as we get older, we start to lose our voice and we start to sound like everybody else around us. But things happen in life, and hopefully sooner rather than later, we circle back around and figure out our voice, because in our voice is our purpose, it's who we should be talking to, and it's who we really are. So I just implore people, find your voice, your authentic voice, and yell it from the rooftop.
You're really empowering. I encourage everyone that is listening right now to share and also to check out his links down below. Check out the radio and check out his website. Everything that he's doing, it's very empowering, and I believe you can pull at least 1, 2, 3, 50 nuggets from what he says on any
You're
basis.
too kind. You're too kind.
Thank you so much, Mr. Early, for joining me. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of the UV Effect. I hope that you enjoyed this interview with Mr. Early Jackson, his message, his story. If you are listening to this on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitchers, before you go, please be sure to subscribe and leave a comment. And then head over to GabrielleJordanInspires.com/016. That's GabrielleJordanInspires.com/016 to check out all of Mr. Early's links, his website, his blogs, his books. All of that will be on that page. And while you're there, be sure to leave a comment as well. Oh, also, head over to our Instagram, The UV Effect, and follow us there to check out the posts that we post, quotes and about the guests, as well as fun snippets from the interviewing process. All right, thank you again for joining me, and I will see you next week. Bye.